Hey, what's going on? So for our fourth in-class project, what I want to do is this button practice. Now, button practice is really just getting used to states of the machine. So we're going to look at different states of different objects and try to use that to tell us, what everything can do and cannot do. During this particular project, what you're going to do is you're going to make two buttons that control each other and a light. So let's start off with just one button. So you'll make a little button and put it on the screen. So it'll be this switch. At the very beginning, it won't actually activate, right? You'll have to do a little bit extra to activate it. Now, after you've activated it, it'll toggle. You can see that it changes its color there, so that means it's doing something. It just doesn't have at the very beginning anything to do. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a button here or a light here, that indicator. So this switch will change the state of this light. Now it doesn't right now because after you've played with the switch, you're going to have to use an if statement to control this light to toggle it on and off. So let's go ahead and do that. So now you have this switch and it'll toggle on and off, right? And that will tell us basically the state of the thing. So every time I click it, every time I click the switch, it changes the state of the object. The state is only, in this case, on and off. You can have much more complicated states in a game, but at the very beginning, we just want to use the state of one or two objects. So these are the two objects that we're starting with. We're going to use one more object that's going to control the switch as well as the light. So I've deactivated both of those so that I can show you what's going to happen now. So we're going to have this start button. Again, you're going to put the start button in. It's not going to work right away. You're going to have to program in. It's working. It's actually being recognized. Then you'll have to program in the start button turning on the switch. So I press start, and now it will turn on the switch, and the switch will light up the indicator. Press start again. Nothing happens yet. Eventually, what will happen is pressing start twice should turn all of that stuff off, right? So I pressed it again and it's turned it all off. So here, let me turn it back on. Now the switch will turn this back on and off. I think last time I had the light on when I turned it off. Now let's make sure that when I press start and turn the switch off, it turns the light. It doesn't turn the light back on, and that's what happens here. Now, somewhere along the lines here, I'm also going to ask you to change the message on the button. That's the last thing you'll do, so that it actually explicitly tells you to stop. So now we've got three things, and you have your starting state here. This would be your starting state after you have all three things together. And that has the start button is active, the switch is inactive, and the light is inactive. All right. Then you press the start. Now the switch is going to be active, and the light is going to be inactive. But you can make the light active. You can activate the light. You can make the light active by pressing the switch. So the start-stop button is active, the switch button is active, and the indicator is active. So all three of these things are active. And the available states for the switch and the indicator depend on the state of the start-stop button. And the state of the start-stop button is dependent on the state of the switch, right? So if the switch is active, then the stop button turns everything off. If the switch is inactive, then it turns the switch on. So again, stop, everything goes off. So that's what you're going to do for this next project. Your homework for this time for our fourth meeting is going to be to do a flow chart for this. Right. Your job is going to be to go through and make a flow chart for this particular situation where you have three buttons or two buttons and one light, and the first button activates the second button. So all the things that I've just gone through, that's what you'll have to put in your flow chart. Start button turns the switch on. If the switch is on, the stop button turns it off. And only when the switch is on, only when the start button is a stop button, will the switch turn these things on and off. So that's what you have to do in your flow chart for the beginning of class, is to write this out so that you can figure out what's supposed to be happening when, prior to actually programming it. You want to have an idea of the flow of the program before you program the program. Again, this is an in-class project. You should be able to do it in less than an hour and a half. So it's a fairly simple project that you're doing here, a fairly simple flowchart. But for later things, especially your own games that you're programming later on, you're going to want to be able to know what's supposed to happen when. And you'll have to use these various levels of abstraction. So it's easier to get used to using those various levels of abstraction now, rather than try to do it when you've got something really complicated to do later. So that's the whole purpose for this particular situation. That, and some programming things with if statements and so forth and so on. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in class. Bye now.